Well, greetings and salutations, everybody. Welcome to the best damn movie-related channel on YouTube, the John Campea YouTube channel, and this is Open Mic. What is Open Mic? Well, you see, I'm awfully glad that you asked. You see, every day on the John Campea Show, Monday through Friday, we save time to take questions, live questions from the audience. But here on Open Mic on the weekends, that's all we do is taking live open mic questions from you guys, talking about the things that you guys want to talk about. And I've already had a great weekend because it started last night when Ann and I, for those of you who didn't catch it, Ann and I did a Mandalorian episode 3 spoiler review last night. It's always great when I get to have Ann on a show with me. And then the two of us immediately went from there over to the AMC Burbank 16 to go and watch the brand new Knives Out. We got to go into that early fan screening for Knives Out, and it's fantastic. It is so fantastic. I loved it. It was everything I wanted to be. Like, you hear a good old style whodunit murder mystery. That's what I wanted. That's what it gave, only it was better than I thought it would be. And it is now my number 3 movie of the year. So now my number 1 movie of the year is Jojo Rabbit. My number 2 is Parasite. My number 3 is Knives Out. Number 4 is the Farewell, and number 5 is 4V Ferrari. Joker and Booksmart, which were tied to the number 5 spot, have now both been knocked out of the number 5, but they're still both in the top 10 position. But oh my goodness, I love Knives Out. I cannot wait to go back and watch it again. So that's me. Anyway, guys, let's not waste any time here today. Let's get right into the stuff that you guys want to talk about, the questions that you guys have been firing in already. So let's hop on over there and get started with that right now. And we're going to get things kicked off here with Luke1234, who writes, I hope the COPPA Act won't impact the John Campea Show. COPPA, of course, the Child Online Privacy Protection Act. I've looked over it. I've gone over it inside out and backwards, and I just don't see how there's any way any ass clown can consider my channel as being made for kids, particularly by their definition, 12 years old or under the age of 13. I don't see how anybody can say that. Now, you can make an argument that some topics on my show would also have an appeal to kids. Sure, but somebody drinking a glass of water, because kids love water. Kids drink water. That drinking a glass of water. But by that, when I look over that criteria, I really don't think the John Campea Show is in any kind of ill shape. I'm going to go over the videos in my library, see if there's any in there that really I ever consider specifically were targeted at kids. I really don't think I have, but there are thousands of videos in my library. So I'm going to have to, before January, go through all those with a fine-tooth comb, see if there's any that I need to designate as being for kids. But I think for the most part, I'm safe. But again, I will keep reviewing it, but honestly, I've consulted with a few people, and it seems like my channel is pretty safe. All right, Logan James Coniston writes, my sister Emily is a fantasy genre fanatic, so I recommended The Pride to her. Oh, thanks so much, man. She ordered it from Amazon last night, and so it should be here today. I'll let you know her thoughts when she finishes. Oh, well, thank you so much. I appreciate that. For those of you who don't know, The Pride is a novel that I wrote, which is available on Amazon. So it was my first crack at writing anything like that. So thank you so much for that, Logan James. I really appreciate that, man. All right. 485162342 writes, thoughts on American History X. Oh, I've talked about that movie many, many times. It's my favorite film ever. I definitely think Ed Norton should be in the conversation for Best Actor without an Oscar. You know, that's not too far from the truth. I still think easily, hands down, no questions asked, the best actor on the planet today that does not have an Oscar on his mantle, I think, is Ralph Fiennes. But yeah, if Ed Norton, if he indeed does not have an Academy Award, and I can think of a couple times he's been nominated, but you're right, I don't think he's ever won. I think you're right, he'd have to be in that conversation. American History X is fantastic, but it's forever put in the lexicon the term Kirby. Anyway. But yeah, I loved American History X. I really did. James Rye writes, John Turturro as Carmine Falcone in The Batman. This cast might as well be called McDonald's because I'm loving it. Batman has finally met his match because nobody F's with the Jesus. Yeah, so here's the funny thing about John Turturro. And many of you may not have heard this yet, but director Matt Reeves has confirmed that John Turturro is going to play Carmine Falcone. Now, when some people think of John Turturro, all they think about is a couple of ridiculous characters. Ridiculous sometimes in awesome ways, like the Jesus from Big Lebowski. And of course, he's got his own spin-off movie now. Or they think of the character he played in Transformers, because a lot of people watch Transformers. A lot of people forget this is an award-winning and multiple-time award, both in Emmys and whatnot, multiple award nominated actor. He is a great actor. One of the best examples of it for me was Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? But he is fantastic. So again, I know there's going to be some people that go, really, John Turturro, the guy from Transformers? He's from a lot more than Transformers. This guy has won awards. He's a tremendous acting talent. Let's see what he does as Carmine Falcone, James, because it's going to be interesting to see. All right. Mighty Tank 1 writes, just revisited Pinocchio for the first time since childhood. Thanks, Disney Plus. Completely forgot about the donkey scene. Pretty disturbing stuff. You know, it's funny because I think it was about 6 months ago. Somebody brought up a topic about, you know, some Disney films, most of them really great and blah, blah, but some that had some really dark scenes, whether we're talking about Maleficent, not the Angelina Jolie version, and one of the things that Robert and I brought up at the time was Pinocchio. Pinocchio's got some heavy, dark things in it. Especially in light of it being, you know, a Disney film. So you're right, and I think Mighty Tank 1, a lot of people will be in the same shoes as you. If they go back and revisit it now, they'll probably have forgotten. They'll just say, oh, Pinocchio, I want to be a real boy. And then they'll totally forget about, holy crap. Like, yeah, there's some of that stuff in there. James Rye also writes, funny enough, you talked about this topic on yesterday's show. Josh Trank dropped his review of Fantastic Four. Have you read it? And if so, thoughts on it? I did not read it yet. I've seen that Josh Trank has put out a review of his Fantastic Four movie, which of course infamously was, you know, steamrolled off the project. Fox interfered way too much. And the movie turned out to be what it was. So I have not read that, but I would be curious to read it. I really would. All right, Russell Amador writes, hey, John, saw Knives Out last night. Nice. And good to see I'm not the only one who acts a certain way after a lie. Won't give anything away. No spoilers. Awesome movie. Definitely my top 10 of the year. I loved it. Yeah. I didn't come out... I instantly knew when the credits rolled, this is my number one favorite movie of the year, but damn, it's up there. And I thought about it for a couple of minutes before I did my reaction video to it. And now that I've slept on it, I'm sticking with it. It's my number 3 best movie of the year so far. Tremendous film. And the ensemble cast is wonderful. All the family members from Don Johnson, Jamie Lee Curtis, Chris Evans, Christopher Plummer. Why I say Christopher Walken? Christopher Plummer. The cast is outstanding, and they play it great. The mystery's great. It's got a great ending. I just love the film. I really did. I'm glad you enjoyed it too, Russell. All right, Quinn Fowley. All right, it's 1 of 5. So I've planned quite possibly the single weirdest double bill event on December 1st. The Irishman, followed by Jay and Silent Bob reboot. The Irishman's runtime, coupled with people saying how unwarranted it is, has made me wary. Yeah, but remember, everybody who's saying that it feels like The Irishman is too long, they're all still saying it's still fantastic, though. So don't confuse that. Has made me worry, but I'm going into it with an open mind regardless. Jay and Silent Bob reboot, I'm hugely excited for because I bought a $200 ticket, which includes a photo op with Kevin Smith and Jason Mewes. I get that. That's cool. Only roadblock I'm facing now is I need to find a non-piracy involved way of watching Jay and Silent Bob Strike Back before then. Oh, they don't make a screening of the movie a part of that Q&A? Anyway, I'll finish off with Quinn here. Quinn also writes, I've never seen it or any Kevin Smith film for that matter. You should. There's a couple of really great ones. And I want to make sure I know what's going on. Wish me luck. Have a great day. Okay, so that's interesting, Quinn, because I'll admit, I have been under the impression that this Jay and Silent Bob reboot tour that they're on, I was under the impression that included a screening of the movie. And you seem to be suggesting that it does not. That's interesting. Because, you know, I read Kevin Smith's words on saying, you know, and then we're going to go on tour at the movie. We couldn't really do a wide release. So I guess it's just a promotional tour, not actually. See, that changes things for me. I really thought they were showing the movie. Interesting. That's interesting. Anyway, hopefully they're 2 awesome movies. They're 2 very, very different movies, though, Fowley. But Quinn, I hope you have a really good time with them. But yeah, I'm a little bit surprised. I really did think they were showing the movie with it. And anyway, Willow Yang writes, The Amazon gummy bear reviews gave me flashbacks to the one time I had tried sugarless candy. I was sick for a week. How did the FDA prove this? Yeah, so I talked the other day on the show about how if you've never, it's become a thing of legend. If you've never gone over to Amazon and read the reviews on these gummy bears, I can't remember the specific brand, but I mean, most of them, most of those reviews aren't real, but it just became funny for people to write about them. And I don't know if some people had real bad experiences, but it just became a thing. And some of the reviews are so outrageously funny and just entertaining to read that you totally should get. So I don't know how legitimate those are, but just reading those things is hilarious, Willow. So I'm glad you took the time to go and read them. JB Bonifacio writes, got around to Peanut Butter Falcon and Honey Boy. Those are the two films this year I still yet to see. Those are the two. Like every year we come down near the end of the year and there's always a small handful of films that I've got to get caught up on before Oscar time. And this year there's only really two, and those are the two. Anyway, I'd love to see Shia clean up his act a la RDJ and do something in the MCU. Why does every actor have to end up in the MCU? Anyway, that aside, the problems though that I don't think the problems that face Shia LaBeouf are the same problems that face Robert Downey Jr. Robert Downey Jr. was a victim of his own absolute self-destructive behavior, including a lot of drugs and a lot of alcohol and things like that. I don't know that Shia LaBeouf's vices are the same vices. I mean, he's a nut job, but I don't know. Now, listen, I don't care about the TMZ nonsense. I don't follow which actor's doing cocaine. I don't follow any of that stuff. I don't care about any of that stuff. The actor's private life is the actor's private life. I mean, you don't want them to act self-destructively, and if it sinks their career, we do need to talk about it. But as far as I've always been able to tell from a distance, Shia's only vices are really just that he's a nut job. And I don't know the man personally, so I don't know. But all I know is the dude is one hell of an actor. So I'm looking forward to seeing those two myself, JB. All right, let's see. Next up. Quinn writes, P.S. Sorry for nearly spoiling Parasite for everyone the other day. I'll try to be more, everybody, listen, Quinn, it's not just you. Everybody accidentally sometimes lets something slip, and everybody's got to be careful about that. When writing things on an open public forum like this that is just going to be out there for everybody, just be courteous, you know? But I'm glad I know it was unintentional, though. 90% of the time it is unintentional. Just got to be a little bit careful, that's all. All right, Ryan Lohner writes, as someone with OCD, the best portrayal of it I've ever seen is The Aviator. The Aviator is a tremendous movie, and that's one of the things they really nail. I actually do that thing where Hughes can't stop repeating a sentence. You know, it's so funny that we've been seeing a little bit more, Ryan, of movies, different movies kind of addressing issues like that, you know? And I know for the Aviator, that is one that was a very prominent part about The Aviator. And one of the things that I liked about it so much, and the way that they, you know, somebody who has that condition, they're not completely defined by that condition. And I like the fact that in The Aviator that it was a very prominent part of the story, but it wasn't like that is the only thing that defines who this guy is. And I thought that was pretty wonderful too. So I'm with you, man. I really did like the portrayal of it. Not that I can speak to it from firsthand experience like you can, but I really did enjoy the portrayal of it in the movie myself. So thanks for sharing that, man. All right, Casinema Reviews writes, what's the Baloney Joe story and mentioned yesterday? So I can't even remember it, so I can't go into it. But Ray has got these fictitious characters he's made up, everything from, you know, the racist werewolf reviews to Crack Pipe Jim to Crack Pipe Jim and Baloney Joe. I can't even remember the story. I just remember him going on about it and just talking, like ad-libbing and just talking, and us just killing ourselves laughing. Laugh Warehouse writes, this Michael Jackson biopic is going to be crazy. I still doubt it's actually going to happen. There's a story going around right now that I believe the Bohemian Rhapsody creators are looking at developing a Michael Jackson biopic, but I don't think any studio will touch it. I'll be honest with you. I don't think any studio will touch it. The big fundamental problem with a Michael Jackson biopic is this. If you're a studio, okay, what do you do with a Michael Jackson biopic? Do you just chronicle his rise from child music, you know, prodigy to king of pop of the world? Or do you go into the allegations that he had a kid fetish? And then if you do decide to have your movie go into those stories, do you portray him as some people would want you to portray it, that he was completely innocent of all that? Or do you portray him as other people would like him to be portrayed, as being completely guilty of that? Because there ain't no way you're going to appease both groups. There's no way. And so you make this movie, all you're going to do is piss off half the people, whichever way you go. If you ignore the issue, you're going to piss people off. If you address it one way, you're going to piss everybody off. If you address it the other way, you're going to piss everybody off. I just don't see a winning scenario here. I just don't see there being any way to make, unless you go into it with a political agenda, one way or the other, I don't see there being any win here for a studio to get behind such a film. It's just too much of a landmine, to be honest with you. And so while everybody can say they'd love to, get the rights and develop a movie about it, I just don't know. I mean, nothing is impossible. So sure, it could. But I have been saying for like the last 8 years that, ever since Michael Jackson died, people saying, oh, they're going to do a biopic quick. And I'm like, I'm not so sure. And I've been saying that for 8 years. And every year more people suggest that a Michael Jackson biopic is about to be done. And I'm saying, my only thing is I just have a hard time believing there's going to be a studio that's willing to take that on when there is no winning scenario. There's no path to a victory for them there. So it's interesting. So we'll see. We'll see if it happens. I just don't know that it'll ever actually do. It'll be interesting to see. All right. Marie Seifring writes, the third installment of The World According to Jeff Goldblum, Tattoos, is great. I learned something and have fun with each episode. Love your show too. Well, thank you so much, Marie. And you know what? I still haven't watched episode 2. Every day I tell myself, today I got to watch a Jeff Goldblum episode on ice cream, because that's episode number 2 is ice cream. And you know me and ice cream. And every day I wake up, I'm like, I'm going to watch the ice cream episode. I'm going to watch it. And then my day just gets completely overwhelmed, and I never get a chance to sit down and watch it. And now that there's 2 episodes out, so now we got 3 episodes. We got the sneaker episode, ice cream, and tattoos. So I got to get back on board really quick to follow this up, because I am just from 1 episode in and I'm loving this show. So I got to get on that pretty quick. All right. Thanks for sharing that, Marie. All right. Tony Hurd writes, with John Turturro in The Batman, I don't know if WB is going for a potential Oscar movie, but my excitement for this movie just went up. I think they're taking a different approach now, maybe now with the success of Joker. And let's remember, the Batman movie has been in development and the script has been getting written long before the Joker movie ever came out. So keep that in mind. But maybe Warner Brothers, even long before the Joker came out, was like, we got this Joker movie coming out. Maybe we should skew a little bit more serious. Maybe we should skew a little bit more Oscar kind of movie. I don't know. But when you're putting an award-winning actor like John Turturro on top of a Robert Pattinson, on top of a Wells, and on top of everybody they've been adding to this cast, one thing is clear. They are taking this Batman film very seriously. That much is clear. And whether or not it turns out great or not, we'll have to wait and see. But at least they're very, very serious about this movie. Eddie Herrera writes, which movie do you and Ann completely disagree on? The Descent. The Descent. The Descent is my all-time second favorite horror film. Ann doesn't like the movie at all. So that's the movie we completely disagree on. Suthius writes, hey, Mr. C, good to see Kevin Hart back on his feet and going on press tour with his Jumanji co-stars. Still a hilarious man, especially with Dwayne Johnson. Yeah, that was very, very scary. For those of you who might have missed it, he was in that car wreck not long ago, was rushed to the hospital. It is good to see that he has recovered so quickly. So clearly the injuries weren't that serious. But when you get an accident like that, one piece of metal goes 1 inch to the left instead of to the right, and it could end your life, or it could leave you without the ability to move for the rest. I mean, it's just crazy, all the bad things that can happen, something like that. So you're right, Suthius. It's very good to see him up and walking around again. All right. Suthius writes, wife, why do you watch the John Campea Show? Me. This is the way. What a great line. What a great line. Again, I don't want to spoil anything for those of you who haven't watched the episode yet, but make sure you get in there and watch The Mandalorian episode 3. Superman Steve writes, I watched The Mandalorian on an iPhone episode 3. I do not recommend that at all. The last 15 minutes are way too dark. I have to rewatch it again. Yeah, I'm not a big fan. Listen, I will watch something on my phone, or more preferably on my tablet if I need to. For example, on Friday, when I was, it's the morning, I'm doing the John Campea Show, I'm at the gym, the new episode is dropped. The only way I'm going to be able to watch the episode, I think, is if I watch it while I'm on the treadmill. So I bring my iPad with me. It's a good 11-inch iPad. So I bring my iPad with me, which is much, much bigger than a phone. And I watch it on the iPad. Now, preferably, I would have rather watched it on a TV, obviously, but that was just a matter of timing. I've got to do my show this morning. I want to see The Mandalorian before we do our show. But yeah, I'm with you. I just, unless I need to, I will really avoid watching stuff on my phone. Like little YouTube videos and stuff like that, that's different. Big talking head videos like mine, that's different. But dramatic narrative movies, I would rather wait until I get to see it on TV, or at the very minimum, at least on my tablet. But even then, I'd rather watch it on TV. All right, Suthius writes, Frozen 2, Friday's box office is 41 million, 100 million for weekend. That seems likely. It seems likely. Let me bring up, hold a second, Frozen box office. Now, the first Frozen movie, the first Frozen movie went on to make $1 billion. Okay? I believe it didn't make all that much money on its opening weekend, though. It didn't make that much money on its opening weekend. Technically speaking, its real opening weekend, I believe, was the November 29th to December 31st weekend, made $67 million. Now, that movie then went on to make over $1 billion at the box office. If Frozen 2 can make 30% more opening weekend than its predecessor did, then it'll be on a good pace. 100 million opening weekend, I don't know. We'll see. If not, it'll come close. It'll be close either way. Orange Hand writes, am I crazy or does Pennywise sound like Scooby-Doo? The tone of the voice is a little bit the same. I think there's something there. I've mentioned that before, but it's not like if you had him speaking, if you close your eyes listening to Pennywise, you'd swear it was Scooby-Doo speaking. I don't think that, but there is some similarities. ZOMG Ruler writes, I was in Disney World the last 2 days. Smuggler 1 was fire. I love Smuggler's Run. Ann and I have been on that ride about 6 times now. I love it every single time, and I try to get a different seat. I like to try. For the Smuggler's Run roll, you go into the thing, and there's 6 seats in the cockpit of the Falcon. And the 3 rows of seats, there's 3 rows of 2. Each row has a different role to play. Pilot, weapons, and engineering. And they're each important. And then at the end of the ride, your team actually gets a score. And I have a lot of fun with it. I think it's great. And I cannot wait for this new ride to open. It should be opening within the next month or so. So I'm very excited about that. Kenneth Colton writes, happy Saturday, Gio. I know you don't go to many red carpets anymore, but what about episode 9 on December 16th? Have a great weekend. Well, I will. Yeah, I used to cover a lot of red carpets. For you guys who followed me back in the AMC days, you guys know that for a long period of time, I used to cover a lot of red carpets at these big Hollywood premieres. I stopped covering the red carpets, though, because they suck. I'm not talking about going to the premieres. I'm talking about being one of the journalists on the red carpet, interviewing all the celebrities that are coming down. It's a terrible experience. I personally don't know anybody that likes the experience of doing red carpet interviews. Again, I'm sure there are. I just don't personally know anybody that likes it. Because first of all, you get this spot on the carpet that's about this wide. That's your spot on the carpet. And then you're right beside, and you're sardine canned in with all these other outlets. And you're there on the carpet, and you're just standing there for about an hour and a half because you're behind this little rope. So you're not on the carpet, like you're sort of on the carpet, but you got to stand behind this little white rope. So as the celebrities come walking down, they'll stop and talk to you. And if you're lucky, unless you're like Entertainment Tonight or one of the big television outlets, maybe the Hollywood Reporter or something, if you're lucky, maybe 1 or 2 of the people will stop at you for about 30 seconds. And it is a nightmare of an experience. I hated it. And here was the other thing about it too. Nobody watched those videos. Like, we used to do all these red carpet videos like, oh my God, we're on the red carpet for, I don't know, like an Avengers movie. Ooh. And then we'd package the video together, put it up, and nobody would watch them. Nobody would watch them. I mean, I could make a video on AMC at the time says the 3 worst farts I ever heard in a movie theater. And that video will get 20 times, literally 20 times the views that a red carpet interview with some major celebrity from a major movie would get. So eventually, and AMC hated that I did this. AMC wanted AMC on the red carpet. And I had to argue and argue and argue with them. But they finally understood where I was coming from, because I said, we're not doing them anymore. It is a waste of our resources. It's a waste of taking me and a camera person down there for 3 to 4 hours, then have a couple of hours of editing, and all for what? A video that's going to get 800 views? It is not a good allocation of our resources. And I finally put this thing together, talked with my bosses about it. I said, this blah, 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 we're not doing it. And they finally went, okay, yeah, we see where you're coming from. We see where you're coming from. So I'll tell you what, I probably wouldn't cover, if I was invited to cover the red carpet of the Star Wars premiere, I probably would not go to cover it, just because there's no point in it. But I am going to the premiere. So there's that. I am going to the premiere. I've been very, very lucky that, now listen, it's not like, look, going to premieres is always a fun experience. You don't always watch great movies. Like, for instance, I went to Disney's premiere of, what was the name of the movie again? A Wrinkle in Time. I went to the premiere of A Wrinkle in Time. Not a good movie. Bad movie. Even though it's a really fun experience to go and be a part of that party and everything, if it's a bad movie, it's a bad movie, and A Wrinkle in Time was just a bad movie. It was a great premiere, it was a great party, but it was just a bad movie. You know what I mean? And that happens. Mary Poppins, the latest one, was just a bad movie. This is all Disney stuff, by the way. Nutcracker was just a bad movie. And it's just unfortunate when that happens. But I've also been very lucky to be at the Star Wars premieres the last number of years. And that's always a lot of fun for me, because Star Wars is something that's a huge deal to me. And I've always loved Star Wars and things like that. And I've liked some of the movies better than others, but it's always... You got to understand, for somebody like me, that Star Wars has been my life. You know, Star Wars, even though I don't love all of Star Wars, like I'm not a big fan of Clone Wars, like a lot of people are. I'm not a fan at all of the prequels, like some people are. There's a lot of Star Wars I don't like, but I love Star Wars. Just like the Toronto Maple Leafs have sucked most of the time that I've been alive, but they are still my favorite team. I love the Toronto Maple Leafs. I don't talk about hockey a lot on this show, because I know a lot of my viewers are Americans and they don't understand hockey, and that's fine. But like Toronto Maple Leafs, I bleed blue and white. I grew up, all of my childhood was about following the Toronto Maple Leafs. It's my team. I love them, even though they suck a lot. And that's kind of my fandom with Star Wars. I don't love everything Star Wars has ever done, but I still love Star Wars. And when I get to go to these things, it goes beyond my profession. It's just a personal thing. It's an amazing experience to be there. Even when I don't completely love the movie I'm going to go see, it's always an amazing thing to be there and be a part of that. And for that, I'll always be, that's probably the best best way I know how to describe it. So I will not be going to cover the red carpet, no. Unless I have a massive change of heart, which I doubt I will. But who knows? I've had things in my career where I've said, I'm never going to do this. And then like a year or two later, I think differently about it, or new information comes up, or my context changes, or my point of view changes. And I go, okay, I will try that. So I said, I will never eat avocados. And now I like avocados. Go figure. But it's going to take something significant to get me to want to go and start doing either red carpets. And by the way, I don't go to do press junkets anymore either. I stopped doing press junkets when we were at AMC too. I mean, it's great. You name the celebrity, I've had a chance to sit down and talk with them. But nobody watched those videos. And it took up so much of our time, and it just became, once again, a bad allocation of our resources to go and do that. So you're not going to see me doing press junkets. Unless something fundamentally changes, you're probably not going to see me do press junkets or red carpets or anything like that for the foreseeable future. Anyway, Krypton Caged writes, number one, Hey, John, hope you're doing great. I'm a DJ slash music producer. Very cool. And last night, my most favorite DJ featured my latest mix on his weekly radio show. Really? This is a big deal for me, and I just wanted to share my happiness with you. I've waited 6 years for this to happen, extremely dedicated and constantly improving myself every day. I watch your show every day. Thanks for help keeping me going. I go by the name of 9FX, and the DJ that featured my remix is Hardwell, the #1 ranking DJ in the world. Wish me luck in the future. Dude, that is all kinds of awesome. That is fantastic. It's always so great when there's something that you've worked at diligently, like with a lot of commitment, and you've worked hard and hard and hard, and then to see some glimpse of recognition and accomplishment. That's always amazing. It's like a lot of us men, I don't know why we're so stupid, but a lot of men in particular, women I don't think do this. Women have a much better point of view, but like men, we love to gaze at our accomplishments. And listen, all of you who are old enough to have done this, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. What do we as men do the moment we finish cutting the lawn? What do? I do this. It's stupid what we do. We stand there and look at the lawn. And we think, look at what I have done. But it's true. We feel good when we can gaze at something that we've accomplished. Man, listen. I remember the first time I saw my name pop up on a movie commercial. You know, such and such, John Campea, the movie blog. I still remember the first time that happened. It was like, and all of a sudden I felt like I'm legitimate or something stupid like that, right? But I'm sure that's the type of feeling you felt too, man. So congratulations on that. That is awesome. Well done, sir. All right. Frankie Gouge writes, one thing, you probably mean one. Well, one thing consistent in Star Wars, stormtroopers still suck. If you're going to have a Star Wars movie, I think you got to have an opening crawl, but you also got to have stormtroopers missing their target. I think that's an important thing, Frankie. All right. Yuri Maninen writes, watch Klaus on Netflix with my kids, and I loved it. I'm hearing good things about it. I'm hearing good things about that Klaus movie. I have not watched it. I don't even know if I have plans to watch it. But I've heard from a number of people, Yuri, writing in to say, hey, this movie's pretty good, and I might have to check it out one of these days. As we get closer to Christmas, Anne likes to watch Christmas movies, so maybe that's one I'm going to put on the list, but I keep hearing good things about it. All right, Jared McBride writes, hello, John. I've been watching The Mandalorian. I love it. Can't wait for the next episode, and I love Baby Yoda. He's so cute. Oh, my God. Anne loves Baby Yoda. Whenever Baby Yoda comes up on screen, Anne squeals. Oh, so cute. I mean, that's all. She'll speak. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. And my God, you got to hand it to them. That's a damn cute little baby lizard. That's a cute baby lizard. It is disturbing how cute they made that thing. It really is. But man, I've been loving the show as well. And it's been getting better. Like the first episode I thought was quite good. I wasn't head over heels in love with it, but it did everything it needed to do. It set the table about what this show is going to kind of feel like and where it's going. And then episode 2 was just a big jump up. And then I feel like episode 3 was also a big jump up. And I'm really loving this thing so far, Jared. I really am. Let's see. Iggy Riaz writes, when Hank said hello, I had tears rolling on my top 5. I had tears rolling on my top 5 so far with JoJo still at number 1 and counting since 2017. It was my 199 tickets bought from AMC. Amazing. I'm sure you're talking about his new Mr. Rogers movie. I forgot it opened this weekend. So Ann and I go to the theater last night to go see Knives Out. And we realize, oh my God, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, it's playing here today. It's opened already. How have we not seen this? And so we might actually go this afternoon to go see it. We might go see it this afternoon. I mean, I've been dying to see this movie, so I might go this afternoon. Thank you for sharing your thoughts on it, Icky. You just made me feel even more terrible about the fact that I haven't seen it yet. I need to run out and see that either today or tomorrow. So thanks for your input on that, man. All right. And congrats, almost at 200 tickets, man. That's cool. I love that you keep track of that. I really do. Chris Warden writes, and sorry, we had a bit of a jump. Where are we at? There we are. Chris Warden writes, I never thought John Krasinski would be able to get past the image of Jim from The Office. Yeah, a lot of people felt that way, man. But after seeing him in 13 Hours, A Quiet Place, and Jack Ryan, he's really become a believable Hollywood badass. And listen, you know what? I think a part of that, Chris, has been time. I think a part of that whole thing has been time. He needed more time to get separated between the end of The Office now, because I remember they tried. Look, Hollywood recognized that John Krasinski had movie star qualities about him way back in the day. So much so that they gave him a leading role with George Clooney and Renee Zellweger in a movie called, I believe it was called Leatherheads. And it was a period piece set back in the olden days, in the original days of football, when instead of regular football helmets, they rode these like leather kind of helmets, which I don't know how that offered them any protection whatsoever. Anyway. And the movie was not good, and it didn't do well. And then we never heard again outside of The Office. We never heard again from John Krasinski for a while. It's like, oh, they tried him as a movie star and it didn't work. But there were a couple things working against him. Number one, it wasn't that good of a movie, so it didn't matter what he did. Number two, it was still too close. Everybody still just saw him as Jim. And you could still say today there are still a lot of people who look at John Krasinski and the first thing you think of is Jim. Sure, it's an all-time iconic character. Why not? But with the passage of time and the fact that he's been able to get in better material, I think it's really helped that as well, Chris. And you're right. I think he is slowly breaking out of the Jim mold. But that I would still love to see him go back for an Office reunion. I would love to see him go back for an Office reunion. Anyway, Anthony Cullen writes, no question today. Just hope you're having a good day. Thank you so much, Anthony. I appreciate that, man. I am having a good day so far. James Rell 22 writes, I watched the Ronald D. Moore Battlestar Galactica miniseries on Amazon Prime. Wow. Everyone needs to watch this show. Looking forward to the rest. Ronald D. Moore's Battlestar Galactica is, I always talk about my top three, sometimes I mix Spartacus and Sons of Anarchy in the 2 and 3 spot, but Battlestar Galactica, the Ronald D. Moore Battlestar Galactica, is always in my number one spot. It is simply and easily my all-time favorite best TV show. I think it is the greatest TV show ever made. Now, of course, that's a subjective opinion, and everybody will have different opinions about that, and that's cool. But God, I love that show. It's just such brilliant. It's brilliant storytelling, period, but it's also brilliant sci-fi. And follow James's recommendation. If you haven't watched Battlestar Galactica yet, you really should get on that. All right, Eli McRibs writes, eating McRib while watching you. Of course, with a name like Eli McRibs, why wouldn't you? Marie Seifring writes, from what I've read, the upcoming Black Widow movie will be set between Captain America Civil War and Infinity War. But how many flashbacks do you think we will see of Widow's dark past? Thanks. I'm not sure. I mean, look, frankly, number one, I have never been all that interested in either a Hawkeye or a Black Widow standalone movie. I love both of those characters. But I love them as accent characters in the MCU. I think they bring a lot and add a lot of depth and dimension to the MCU as a whole, but I like them as supporting characters. I don't know that either of them I'm all terribly interested. Now we're getting a Black Hawk series and a Black Widow movie, or a Hawkeye series and a Black Widow movie. So I honestly don't really know where they're going to go with it, Marie. I really don't. And how many flashbacks they have, I hope they don't rely on it too much. But clearly, just from the promotional pieces that we've seen, parts of this movie deal with her dealing with her past. So you know there's going to be at least some. I just hope they don't rely too heavily on stuff like that, Marie. You know what I'm saying? Because then it can sort of feel like you're trying to tell 2 or 3 different stories in one movie. And I really hope they don't get terribly sidetracked or, thrown off kilter there like that. So I believe we'll probably see some. I just hope it doesn't become an overly reliant thing for this movie. That's where my hopes are right now. Anyway, thanks for that, Marie. All right, next up, Lone Wolf X6 writes, I'm with you, John. Lila hasn't been used a lot, but seeing her Harbinger arc is intriguing me so far. How about you? Let's put it this way. It's certainly, and we're talking about Arrow, it's certainly the most interesting use. or at least the most substantive. It is the most substantive use of this character than they've ever really done in the show. She's always kind of been the secondary character to an already secondary character. You know, Wiggle is the secondary character, Arrow's the main character. And then she has been a secondary character to the Diggle secondary character. It's kind of weird. It's certainly been the most substantive use for that. The jury's still out for me. Jury's still out for me. We'll see how this develops, though. John Dotson writes, the Jay and Silent Bob reboot is screened on the tour. Okay, I think he meant the Jay and Silent Bob Strikes Back from the early 2000s. Oh, I see what you're saying. Okay, that clears that up. Because I'm just thinking Jay and Silent Bob and I'm locked in there. Go back. By the way, there are many. First of all, there are two absolute, maybe some would argue three, absolute musts when it comes to Kevin Smith films that you must see. Clerks, and my personal favorite Kevin Smith film, Clerks 2. And there's a lot of people, wait, you like Clerks 2 more than Clerks 1? I really do. I think there's a lot more heart and depth and everything to that movie. In the midst of a movie that has donkey show jokes, I think there's an unbelievable amount of heart and depth to that movie if you really look for it. But anyway, that's me. The third film of Kevin Smith's that you absolutely must see is Chasing Amy. A lot of people will argue that that might be his best movie. It is brilliant and wonderful and incredible. And so if you're, I mean, then there's others, obviously, but those are the three that I think are the quintessential viewings of Kevin Smith movies. That's just me. Anyway, thanks for clearing that up, John. I appreciate that, man. Let's see. Colby Harris writes, my girlfriend is finally getting into Star Wars thanks to The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda. See, that's the neat thing. We talked about that the other day, Colby. Every generation has something that gets, like, look, I hate the prequels, but there's a lot of people out there, or at least there's a decent number of people out there who, because of when they were born, the prequels, whether as teenagers, whatever, were the first exposure that they had to Star Wars. And that introduced them to Star Wars. There are people out there that Clone Wars was their first introduction into the Star Wars universe, and that's what was their segue to get them into Star Wars. There are people today that The Force Awakens is their first exposure to Star Wars and what got them into Star Wars. And I absolutely 100% believe that for another group of people of a certain age, or whatever age, that The Mandalorian show is going to be their first real dive into Star Wars and will become that gateway to get them into Star Wars as a whole. And that's kind of one of the beautiful things about this. And one of the very unique things about Star Wars, it is a franchise that has stood the test and been insanely successful for over 4 decades. Well over 4 decades. And it's really an amazing thing to see. And that's great that The Mandalorian and Baby Yoda is being one of those conduits for your girlfriend. That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Colby. All right, Lone Wolf X6 writes, a spinoff I'd prefer over Oliver's Kids is a team up with Thea, Laurel, Nisa, Lila, and Roy. Can we agree a better lineup? John, thoughts? I'm personally not into the idea of a spinoff series with a bunch of the B-listers. Now, that doesn't mean I don't like some of those characters. I actually very do. There's a couple of them I actually really quite like, but I'm not really interested in a standalone spinoff series of the B-listers. I prefer them in supporting roles in the alien. So if you want to have them also be a part of another, here's a great example. Commander Worf on Star Trek The Next Generation. Commander Worf, or as he was for Lieutenant Worf, was a key part, a very good part of Star Trek The Next Generation. However, he was never the primary character. Now, there would be some episodes where it would focus on him, sure, but he was not the prime character of Star Trek The Next Generation. But my God, he was an amazing supporting character, and we loved Worf. So when Deep Space Nine needed an infusion of energy, they decided to go and get that incredible character, and they brought Worf over to Deep Space Nine. He still wasn't the primary character, but he was doing what his character did best, infused a lot of energy, gave a new layer to the show, and brought a new texture with Worf. I don't know that a Worf standalone show or a Worf movie ever would have worked, but he's still an incredibly effective character in that supporting role. And I feel that way about a lot of these characters. Like, you could bring up a new primary character and then transition some of these characters over to be supporting characters on that show too, much like what they did with Worf. But I don't know that I'd be down for that. Like, but hey, listen, yeah. If I had to choose between a spin-off show of that lineup and a spin-off show of Oliver and his idiot kids, or Oliver's idiot kids, I should say, I'll watch this one that you're recommending. Absolutely. All right. Ross Pitt Shark Hunter writes, I went to see Frozen 2 and I have never had a worse theater experience. I love the film, but there were 45 minutes of 45 minutes of ads and trailers before the film. Thankfully, the kids were all well behaved. Oh, dude, that's awful. I really enjoyed Frozen 2. I was not expecting to like it as much as I did. I really did enjoy it a lot. But 45 minutes of ads, dude, I would love to know the name of the theater and the location of the theater that happened. That is unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable. And dude, you absolutely must very politely be very, very polite. But you've absolutely got to ask to speak to the manager of that theater and express how you feel in a very polite way. In a very, very, very polite way. But just make sure, hey, listen, thank you for seeing me, Mr. Manager or Mrs. Manager. Listen, I just wanted to express some concerns as a patron of this establishment. I went to go see this movie the other day, and it was supposed to start at 6 o'clock, and it didn't start till 6:45. I feel that is very unfair. I feel that is deceptive to me as a customer here at this thing, and I think it's unacceptable. And it has me, and while I appreciate your facility very, very much and the hard work that you guys do as the staff of this facility, I have to tell you as a patron here, I am considering going to see movies in other places rather than here, because I think this was a very unfair abuse of my time. You guys told me the movie started at 6, and that was simply an abuse of my time. And I really hope to see an improvement in that as we move forward, or else I'm going to have to consider, me and my family and friends are going to have to consider seeing our movies somewhere else. So again, thank you for the hard work you do, and I appreciate everything you do, but I needed to express my concern. That's how you approach it. Enough people do that, we're going to start seeing some things change. Anyway, thanks for sharing that experience, man. Sorry that it was such a rough experience, dude. That absolutely sucks. All right. King of the Hills 34 writes, 4 weekends from now, we will presumably be having a Skywalker spoiler discussion. We will, for sure. The movie is getting so close. My hype levels are rising. Absolutely. And you know, I knew this would happen. I've been excited about Star Wars Episode 9 all year, but my enthusiasm hasn't been kicking into overdrive. And I knew it's because we've got Mandalorian that's about to come out. It's right here in front of me. And I always thought, once we get the premiere of The Mandalorian in the rearview mirror, then I'll probably get my blood really start pumping for Rise of Skywalker. And it totally is true. That's totally what happened with me. That once Mandalorian premiered, and we saw how great it was, and we're all excited about that. Now a lot of my new enthusiasm can be turned over to Star Wars Episode 9 and my excitement for that. So it's coming. It's getting close, dude. It's getting close. All right. Quinn Fowley writes, I just found out Mark Ellis' stand-up special, Dog Stepfather, is available for free on YouTube right now. Yes, it is. I was talking about that yesterday. Courtesy of All Things Comedy Network YouTube channel. I know what I'm watching today. Listen, Mark Ellis is simply one of the funniest guys I've ever had the privilege of knowing. Simply one of the funniest guys I've ever had the privilege. And his stand-up is incredible. I still remember the first time that I went to a comedy club to go watch Mark perform. Because, you know, he was part of my team. I wanted to go support him, blah, blah. I knew he was a funny guy, but so sure, I went bought a ticket to a comedy club when I went to go watch Mark perform, and was floored by just how truly talented he is as a stand-up comedian. He really is. And then recently I was in Vegas, and Ellis was like, dude, I'm in Vegas. I'm performing. Come see me. I'm like, I'll come see you. So I was in Vegas for the World Series of Poker, and I took a couple hours out one night to go to the comedy club at the MGM and go watch him there. That was the last time I saw him live. But again, he was spectacular. He was absolutely fantastic. If you guys get a chance to watch his stand-up special. You absolutely should. And never tell him what I said about him, because I'll deny it. I'll just tell him, no, man, I think you're an idiot. I never said those things about you. I think you're an idiot. So I'll deny it. But seriously, just between you and me, and don't tell anybody else, Ellis is hella funny. He's hella funny. You should go and check out his special. Anyway, thanks for bringing that up, Quinn. Roberto Suarez writes, do you think Marvel might build up to an X-Men movie by first introducing individual mutant films? I like how they did with Avengers. I don't think, here's the interesting thing. I don't think you really can. And again, it's not about formula. Follow the formula. Follow the recipe. You got to do this, then this, then this, and then you do this, and that's the formula. I don't believe in formula. That's not why the MCU succeeded. The MCU succeeded because when they made movies, regardless of whether they're team-ups or whether they were whatever, they made good quality movies. I always bring it back, Roberto, to Guardians of the Galaxy. Did Marvel need to do a standalone Star-Lord movie first, and then a standalone Rocket movie, and then a standalone Groot movie, and then a standalone Nebula movie, a standalone Drax movie? Did they have to go through and make standalone movies for all of the various characters involved with Guardians of the Galaxy, and then bring them all together for a big Guardians of the Galaxy team-up movie? No. They just came out of the gate with a Guardians of the Galaxy. And I think that's what makes it particularly interesting for X-Men is that you're introducing something that is fundamentally altering the world as we know it. Because in the X-Men world, mutation is a major, major issue. Now, I've said on the show before, I think you can introduce, if you wanted to start first with one character, you could do it with Wolverine. Because now some people go, I'm tired of Wolverine. Oh, that's fine for you, but the vast majority of the movie-going audience like Wolverine. He is by far the most popular character in that ecosphere, right? So you could do a Wolverine movie or have Wolverine as a secondary character in another film before you get into X-Men. But I do not think Marvel needs to do the cookie cutter, cut, paste, repeat. Cookie cutter, cookie cutter, cookie cutter. Here's our formula, la, 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 la. No, do what you did with, you can do it anyway. You can do it one way, you can do it another way. You can do individual films, you can jump right into it like you did with Guardians of the Galaxy. Or like they are with the Eternals, right? Did they need to do individual films of all the different Eternal members first and then do the Eternals? Or do you just jump into it with the Eternals? You just jump into it with the Eternals. And doing it that way doesn't make the movie good. And doing it as individual films doesn't make those good. It's not the formula. It's just whatever movie you're making, whether it's individuals, individual team-ups, or big grand teams, you just got to make the movies good. That's all that matters, is are the movies good? And that's the bottom line, Roberto. So I have a feeling that barring kind of introducing us to one character maybe at some point, I think, and I'm not putting money on this. Don't say, John Campea says this is how Disney's going to do it. No. I'm just saying I think that's what they're going to do, but I'm not putting that in concrete by any stretch of the imagination. I think there's 1,000 different ways they could approach this. I lean towards thinking that, notwithstanding maybe one individual popping up in one thing, that they'll pretty much just go full out of the gate X-Men. But we'll see. We'll see. We're still a couple of years away from knowing for sure, but we will see. All right. Thanks a lot for the question, Roberto. Appreciate it, man. All right. Quinn Fowley writes, John Dotson, thanks for the suggestion, but unfortunately I live in Canada and it's unavailable on Canadian Netflix. Thanks, though. But Quinn, there are many. I'm just going to go back and see if I can see. There are many ways. You just because a movie's not Netflix isn't the only way you can get a movie. There are many ways. If you want to watch that movie, there are thousands of different ways you can order it. You can buy it. There's many ways to get access to that thing. So you'll find a way. Okay, where are we at here now? Jonathan Randy writes, Jared Leto was only in Suicide Squad for 5 minutes. Do you think they should release a Leto cut and release all of the Joker footage? # release the Leto cut. No, I don't. Now, here's the thing. I really enjoyed Jared Leto's Joker because it was, again, a radically different, yet at its core, very much the Joker, yet still very different from Jack's Joker, from Heath's Joker, from Caesar's Joker, all that kind of stuff. And I liked it. And to be honest with you, my favorite parts of Suicide Squad were the parts that involved Joker and Harley Quinn. Especially that one, I think it was Common, wasn't it? Who was in that one scene when he's talking about Harley Quinn and he kills him for it. I mean, that to me was Joker and Harley Quinn. I love that scene. To me, one of the big weaknesses of Suicide Squad was it needed more Joker and Harley Quinn. And apparently they did have more Joker in it. And then they cut it back and cut it back and cut it back. But I believe there is only one version of a movie. And that is the version that got released in theaters, period. Anything else can be interesting, but that's the movie. And as much as I thought they should have had more of them, I think that's the movie. It's time to let it go and to move on from it. Thanks for that, Jonathan. All right. Lance Dela Cruz writes, "Hey, John. Greetings from Winnipeg from the Forks. I used to have to go to the Forks. Every once in a while, I'd take the train across country. Whenever I was in Winnipeg, we'd always stop at the Forks there. Anyway, it's Grey Cup season, and finally, the Bombers made it since 1990. The Ticats haven't won since 99. I'm so happy for them, too. My Hamilton Tiger Cats are in the Grey Cup. Hamilton Tiger Cats are in the Grey Cup. For those of you who have no idea what we're talking about, there is a football league in Canada called the CFL, the Canadian Football League, and my Hamilton Tiger, that's my hometown, is Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. That's home for me, the Hammer. Steel Town, as they call it. The Hamilton Tiger Cats are in the Grey Cup, which it's, considering it's only really an 8-team league, sometimes 9, sometimes depending on the year. It is amazing. Amazing. So you know I'm going to be watching that stuff. Actually, hold on a second. Let me look something up here. Let's see here. It is, I believe it's tomorrow, but hold on a second. Tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Hamilton Tiger Cats versus the Winnipeg Blue Bombers. By the way, a little bit of a connection between the Winnipeg Blue Bombers and the Hamilton Tiger Cats is I believe they both had Dieter Brock, because I believe Dieter Brock didn't Dieter play a little bit for Hamilton before going to the NFL? Because he was really big on Winnipeg, and then I thought he played on Hamilton for a while. I could be wrong. I just remember the era of Tom Clements. See, I was watching Tiger Cats back in the day when Tom Clements was the quarterback. Anyway, I'm getting off topic here. Anyway, yes, it'll be marvelous, marvelous, marvelous. So great to see those teams in there. So good luck to your Winnipeg Blue Bombers, and good luck to my Hamilton Tiger Cats. All right, Suthius writes, where do we go? There we go. Suthius writes, after I cut grass, I say, dumb grass, I loathe you. I think a lot of those men stand there and go, yes, look at what I have done. I have made the grass cut. Anyway, that's what I think, but I say, dumb grass, I loathe you. Hector Zarate writes, part 1 and 2. And by the way, really large super chat. Thank you, Hector, for supporting the channel on that level, man. We really appreciate that. In the first age, in the first battle, when the shadows first lengthened, one stood, he chose the path of perpetual torment. In his ravenous hatred, he found no peace, and with boiling blood, he scorned the umbral plains. Seeking vengeance against the Dark Lords who had wronged him, and those that tasted the bite of the sword named him Campea. I don't know, is that from something? It clearly sounds like it's from something. Otherwise, that sounds like a great start to my own personal biography. I totally endorse this as a biopic in my name. I would totally be down for that, Hector. Anyway, I don't know what that is specifically a reference to, but I like it. It sounds pretty cool. Thank you for sharing that, man. All right, Stubble McShave writes, I want a new X-Wing TIE Fighter simulator game. God, you have no idea, Stubble, how many hours I spent playing X-Wing and TIE Fighter. You have no idea. Dacky Woods writes, hey, John, I saw that episode 7 of The Mandalorian comes out on Wednesday the 18th as opposed to Friday the 20th. Do you think the episode might have episode 9 tie-ins or just Disney being polite? No, I really don't think it'll have tie-ins. I really don't. There's just too many years separate one from the other. I think it's just good PR. I really don't think. Now, they could. I'm not saying that it's definitely not. I'm not claiming to have any insider information at all. I'm just, as a fan, speculating. That's it. But I really don't think they're going to have any tie into this at all. I don't think Jon Favreau had his idea for The Mandalorian and based it on what J.J. Abrams was going to be doing with Star Wars Episode 9. I don't think Jon Favreau knew what J.J. was doing with Star Wars Episode 9. So I think it's just really good timing, utilizing momentum of one Star Wars property to lead into the momentum of another Star Wars property, but I don't actually think there's going to be any literal tie-ins. Now, again, they could surprise us. They totally could. But I really don't think they are. They're certainly not going to make watching Star Wars Episode 9 dependent on you watching The Mandalorian. Like, oh, you don't have Disney Plus and didn't watch The Mandalorian? You're never going to understand what's going on in Star Wars Episode 9. No, they're not going to do that. There might be a wink, like how the Ghost was kind of a little bit in Rogue One. They might do a little bit of a wink or something like that, but nothing that is a direct tie-in or has really heavy influence on. I just don't see them doing that. Let's see here. Spanky the Keeper writes, really amazing how you can completely feel Mando's emotions through the helmet. Really fantastic acting and directing. Starting to like him more than any Jedi. See, that we were actually, Ann and I talked about that yesterday on our Mandalorian spoiler review, is one of the really incredible things they've accomplished with this show is having the lead character, Mando, really being able to emote emotion. You know what emotion he's communicating, even with the damn mask on. Now, they accomplish that sometimes through reflective emotion, as in the emotion and things being played off other characters around him, but still they find creative ways to do it. And that was one of the big question marks. You know, we went into this series, and remember, a lot of people were thinking, and I was one of them, was like, if they always keep his helmet on, they're going to have a tough time making us feel whatever the emotions are that's going through the Mandalorian. And they have found a great way to make it happen. And that has been one of the most impressive accomplishments they've had so far, Spanky. They really have. All right. Spanky also follows up and writes, also, the chances that the helmet ever comes off, now that they might have a point to mention that he is never taking it off or had it taken off by an enemy. See, here's the funny thing. I was thinking for a bit that, nope, we're never going to see him take the helmet off. But the very fact, now this isn't a spoiler if you haven't seen it, but the very fact that there's a conversation that happens in the latest episode where, you know, the one says to Mandalorian, have you ever taken off your helmet? No. Have you ever had someone else remove your helmet from you? No. The fact that they made it such a big deal that his helmet does not come off makes me feel like that is a setup for how significant it is later in the show when he does take it. So now I'm kind of leaning towards thinking he will take it off. I don't know that for sure. We're just lots of speculation at this point. Lots of speculation. All right. James L.H. writes, hey, John. Today you talked John Turturro in Batman. Ray Fiennes Best Actor without an Oscar. I really liked, yes, Quiz. They were both in Quiz Show. Great observation, James. A Quiz Show directed by one of the top actor-directors, Robert Redford. Guys, honestly and seriously, you need to watch Quiz Show. Quiz Show is so freaking good. It is surprising. It's thrilling. The acting is phenomenal. The script is phenomenal. The pacing is incredible. Seriously, guys, take James's recommendation here and make sure you watch Quiz Show. It's a phenomenal cast. It's a phenomenal movie. Got a lot of Oscar attention at that time, and you really do need to check it out. Please take James's recommendation and do check that one out, because you're right, it's fantastic. An absolutely, utterly fantastic movie. All right. Next up, Sebastian Davis writes, catching Knives Out tonight at my local theater for an early screening. Even more excited after seeing you. I love the film. Listen, it is everything I wanted it to be. Now, if you are somebody that you don't care about murder mysteries and you don't care about whodunits, I don't know if this is going to be the movie for you, right? Like, I don't think this is a movie for everybody. It's not. But I do like a good murder mystery, and I do like a good mystery in general, and a good whodunit kind of movie. And this is such a classic Agatha Christie style murder mystery, and it's done nigh perfectly. Pretty much perfectly. And I just adored this movie, and I cannot wait to watch it again. I hope you have a good time watching it, Sebastian. All right. Marin van Leerhoven writes, John, did you see Dark? No, I have not. I have not seen it. I've had a number of people recommend it to me. You are certainly not the first, my friend, and I'm feeling like you're not going to be the last either, but I have not had a chance to sit down and watch it. Listen, the fact of the matter is I don't have a lot of time to watch much TV at all, period. I generally have 1 hour a day I get to watch TV, and that's when I go downstairs and have lunch. That's about it. But I do try to squeeze in as much as I can, and I'm getting enough people telling me about Dark that I just, now you're the latest one, dude. I might have to squeeze this one in. All right, Suthius writes, Gordon Ramsay's Uncharted is indeed a 2018 Nat Geo show on Disney+. He travels to different cities, countries, and learns to cook for the respective locals. That sounds like something I'd totally be into, because I'm a sucker for kind of travel shows, and I'm a sucker for food shows, and I like Gordon Ramsay. I've had the privilege of meeting Gordon Ramsay. I was on his show, Ann and I, what was it? Hell's Kitchen? Was it Hell's Kitchen or was it Kitchen Nightmares? It might have, no, I think it was Kitchen Nightmares. Anyway, Ann and I were in one little episode of Kitchen Nightmares. But that sounds like a show I should check out. Thank you for putting that on my radar, Suthius, and I am going to check that out at some point, because I know Ann will want to watch it in bed some night. James LH writes, also, Clint Eastwood is my favorite actor-director, but personally I think Redford is not far behind. I wouldn't say he's very far behind either, but he is behind. Clint Eastwood is just Redford's got a couple of really good ones, but Clint Eastwood, God, it's just both as an actor and as a director, so absolutely phenomenal. But you're right. Redford's a really good name that needs to be in that conversation, James, and good on you for bringing that up. Stubble McShave just sends in a super chat. Thank you, Stubble. Hector Zarate writes, I don't know if you know where that's from. I don't. I have no idea what that was from. But it's from the game Doom 2016. I never played the 2016 version of Doom, as a matter of fact. Have you had the chance to play it on a PC? If not, I hope one day you do, because it's awesome. I've heard good things about it. And there's a new big Doom release of some sort going on. I know a buddy of mine is actually working on Doom. Yeah, I actually got a really good friend of mine who's working on Doom. But no, I had not heard that phrase before, and I had not played Doom 2016. But I like a good first-person shooter, so I might have to try that one out. Thank you for the recommendation, Hector, and thanks for clarifying that, because I didn't know what we were talking about before. All right, Matt Stewart writes, hey, John, huge fan since the AMC days. Thank you so much, Matt. Do you think that the Terminator franchise is done now due to the massive failure of Dark Fate? I think so, at least for a while. I don't see any studio going, let's make another one. I don't see anybody doing that in the near future. Now, 5 years down the line, 10 years down the line, maybe once they've had a little bit of a buffer, maybe somebody will try to reboot the franchise or whatever. But I think, again, no insider information. This is just what I think. I think it's done, especially considering how badly this one flopped. And I thought this one was a pretty good movie. Not a great movie, but I thought it was a pretty good movie. I really do. I really thought this Terminator was pretty good. Had some weaknesses, but overall I had a good time watching it. But when you see the degree to which it flopped, hey, it is what it is. So there it is. Hector Jeter writes, after 3 episodes of Mando, we still haven't heard the traditional Willem scream yet. Over under 50% will hear it in one of the next 5 episodes. I don't care. I really don't. That's just a neat little thing. By the way, just because you haven't noticed it doesn't mean it. That's the interesting thing about the Willem scream. Is that just because you haven't noticed it doesn't mean it wasn't there in some way, shape, or form, because it very well could have been. Honestly, though, Hector, I don't even really think about it. Extent Crab writes, I'm in the UK and have had to torrent Mando to watch it so far. I feel bad, so hopefully this super chat will balance some karma. Listen, again, I am 100% against piracy. I'm 100% against piracy. Everybody tries to rationalize it and pretend like it's okay. It's not. It's stealing. A very good friend of mine, John Schnepp, life was really hurt because of people pirating his movie, The Death of Superman Lives, What Happened. It really hurt him financially. It hurt him professionally. And it hurt him personally. Like, he thought the fan community would be better to him. And it wasn't. And they stole his movie. And they stole it, and they stole it, and they stole it, and stole it. And he was never able to... Anyway. As a personal cost. That said, in talking about Mandalorian, I have said, listen, you're not going to get any judgment from me. If you live in one of the many, most countries in the world where you're seeing Mandalorian advertised and you know everybody's going to be talking about it online and they are simply not giving you a legal way to buy it. It's like, hey, I'm here. Here's my money. I want to buy this show. I want to buy the right to watch a show. I'm willing to give you the money for it before the entire world starts talking about it and it gets all ruined for me. Here's my money. Take it. And they're giving you no avenue to do that legitimately? I am not endorsing piracy, but I'm not going to condemn people or judge people who do it under those circumstances. Because you're there. You want to give them your money. You're saying, please, let me have this product. Everybody else is going to be seeing it, and they're all going to be talking about it, and it's going to get spoiled for me unless I see it fairly quickly. Please take my money and let me see this. And they're giving you no legitimate avenue to do it. Again, I'm not endorsing it. I'm just saying you're not going to see me actively judging it. You're not going to see me actively judging it either. Anyway, where are we at here? There we go. Benny Canuck writes, thoughts on Babcock being fired by the Maple Leafs. Also, how often do you find time to watch hockey? Love the show and lots of... I do not find nearly enough time. And I want to bring up this one article I was reading earlier. But anyway, I do not find nearly enough time to watch hockey. I mean, I bought the NHL package to try to watch it as much as I can. But honestly, I don't watch nearly enough hockey as I'd like to. But I think what you're finding is, and I think it was one of the Boston papers. Hold on a second. Just let me bring it up. Because I was reading this in the Boston paper. Yeah, so basically including, and here it is. Yeah. So the Boston Globe wrote a really interesting article in it. It says, Mike Babcock was simply not given enough time. And I don't know that they're going to find a better coach than Mike Babcock. And if you think bringing in somebody other than Mike Babcock is going to turn what is a decent team into a Stanley Cup team, I think, and I certainly think this season they should have definitely given him at least till the midway point of the season. I think they should have minimum given him to the midway point of the season. But anyway, yeah, it is what it is. All right, Lone Wolf X6 writes, if you could pull one character from Arrow and one from Flash to join Legends, who would you pick? Me from Arrow, Roy, and Flash, Ralph. I stopped watching Legends of Tomorrow after season 3. So I wouldn't want to dump anybody on that, personally. None. I mean, I guess that's it for me. I wouldn't want any going over that show. It's a show that I tapped out on a couple of years ago, unfortunately. Let's see. Hector's Zarate writes, also, Mr. Campea, with Thanksgiving next week, I just want to wish you and Ann and your family and loved ones a happy Thanksgiving. Thank you very much, Hector. Although for me, Thanksgiving is in October. But yes, we did have Friendsgiving here the other day. Ann and I are actually going to Las Vegas for Thanksgiving this year. Me and we're also, because Ann's mother's birthday happens around Thanksgiving, and Ann's mom loves going to Vegas, and her and her late husband, my late father-in-law, used to go to Vegas a lot when Ann were kids, so they like it when we take them to Vegas. So we're taking Ann's mom to Vegas, and her sister and my brother-in-law and a couple of our friends, we're all going to go to Las Vegas for the Thanksgiving Day weekend, and it should be a lot of fun. So thank you for that, Hector. I appreciate that, man. All right. Leandro Arena writes, have a great weekend, Mr. Campea. Thank you so much. I'm already having a good one, and I hope you have a great one too, my friend. All right, Michael Bradley writes, hello, John. I used to read Screen Rant and IO9 every day. Now I get my fill listening to your show on my way home from work. Keep up the good work. Oh, thank you so much for that, man. And you know what? I got to admit, I don't read Screen Rant much anymore. I'm not crapping on Screen Rant. I'm not. I just don't read it much anymore. Screen Rant was founded by a friend of mine who founded his Screen Rant right around the same time that I founded the movie blog. And we connected online. His name is Vic Holterman. And I really like, Vic is a very different cat politically than I am. So that was always funny, but we got along great. We had totally opposite ends of the spectrum on politics. But we shared a love of movies, and as such, we had a really good relationship. And I like Vic very, very much. And I really like what he built with Screen Rant. Now, a couple of years ago, he had the opportunity to sell Screen Rant for a lot of money. And rightfully so, he sold it. So he's not involved with Screen Rant anymore. And there are still some good people associated over there with that. I have found that Screen Rants, now this is just my own personal assessment, I believe they have not changed for the better since Vic Holterman was no longer there. And again, this is not me crapping on Screen Rant at all. It's got a ton of readers. They do some really, really good stuff over there. But I found eventually the changes from Vic being there were just too much for me as an individual reader. So I started reading other things myself. But there's no denying Screen Rant is still a very big and very prominent site. They've got a couple of really, really good people that work over there that I personally know. And all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I've kind of weaned off of reading them myself, but not for any crap. It's just, I just kind of liked it better. It just felt like a better place when Vic Holterman was the guy in charge. So anyway, that's just me. But again, they do a very good job on a lot of things, and no diss talk from me about what they do at all. All right, the last Shady Walking Marvel writes, episode 3 of Mandalorian is amazing. I love this show now. God, to me, it was my favorite episode so far. Shady, it was absolutely my favorite episode so far. Jason Espinoza writes, saw Ford v Ferrari last week. Good news and bad news. Can't go into that, but the movie is fantastic. It is currently my number 5 favorite movie of the year. The only movies I have ahead of Ford v Ferrari are The Favorite, Knives Out, The Parasite, and Jojo Rabbit. Those are the only films I have in front of it. I loved Ford v Ferrari. If you haven't seen it, get out and see it. Jason also follows up and writes, good news, less than 20 minutes of previews. Bad news was in a long concession line and walked in 20 minutes after the posted time and film had already started. Oh, I thought you were talking about the one scene with Matt Damon. But anyway, we're not going to go into that. Listen, I don't get it. I don't get how movie theaters, how you really make your real money isn't from movie ticket prices, and they know that. They make their money from concession stands. Staff your concession stands appropriately so people don't have to stand in line for 20 minutes. Because I know I buy a lot less stuff these days in concession lines because I simply don't. I get in there and I see the lineup. I'm like, I'm not going to stand in that line for 25 minutes. And then I go into the theater. You will make more money if you add a couple more kids running those stands. Just my thought. Sorry you had that experience, Jason. Let's see here. Where are we at? Suthius writes, now watch Baby Yoda be the one to take off the helmet. God, I wouldn't be surprised, Suthius. Or uses the Force. Whatever. Yeah, there you go. I can totally see that happening. Jason writes, I wish they posted actual starts time. I think it should be a law. And I've gone off on this before. It should be a law that they let you know if you buy a fucking ticket to a movie, they should fucking well tell you when that movie starts. Not this BS, showtime's at 7, but you have no idea when the movie actually starts. You have no idea. You're going to show us 30 minutes of commercials? You're going to show us 45 minutes of commercials and trailers? You're going to show us 15 minutes of trailer? Like, if I buy my damn effing ticket, you should tell me when the effing movie starts. Is that not reasonable? I'm sorry. Am I on crazy pills? Is that not reasonable? I think that's reasonable. I paid you money for a ticket. The least you can effing do for me is tell me when the damn movie starts. Well, showtime starts. No. F you and your effing showtime. Tell me when the damn movie starts. Anyway, I get really worked up about that. I'll try not to. Anyway, Jason Soto writes, what's up with COPPA bill that could become law? Oh, no, it's not a bill. COPPA is not a bill. COPPA is law. COPPA has been a law for a very long time. Like since the 90s. I believe since the 90s. I think COPPA has been a law since the 90s. It's not a bill that could become law. It is a law. It's just now that they're applying it. And the best thing you should do is go on YouTube and look up different things on COPPA rather than me spending 20 minutes going into it here. All right, Sean G. Sends in a really large super chat. Thank you for the support, Sean. I appreciate that, man. And everybody does as well. Good day, John. My 46th birthday. Happy birthday to you, Sean. I hope you have a great day and a great year ahead of yourself, my friend. Watching live, it's Sunday morning here in Sydney, Australia. Keep bringing the filthy. Well, thank you so much, John. And again, happy birthday to you, dude. And I'm telling you what, I got to get out to Australia. There are a couple of priorities for me to visit. Number one is clearly Italy. I've never been to Italy. I'm Italian. My real name is Giovanni. I've never been to Italy. I need to go visit Italy. Number two, though, probably is Australia. Well, my wife would tell me my number 2 should be the Philippines because she wants to go visit Philippines. But I got to tell you, Australia is right up there for me. I really want to go see it. It's just that I don't like flying. And I do fly a lot, but I've never flown more than 5 hours. And the notion of being in the air, like flying for like 13, 14, 15, however long it takes to get to Australia, oh my God, is crippling to me. But at some point, somehow, some way, I really do want to try to get out there and visit that damn place because everything about it looks so gorgeous. Anyway, thank you for sharing that, Sean, and may you have a glorious day ahead of you, my friend. All right. Sutheus writes, will you be wearing a suit jacket for Mrs. Campea's mom? No, probably not. Well, let me rephrase that. If we plan a really big dinner in Vegas for when we go out there to celebrate Thanksgiving and her mom's birthday, if we plan a big dinner I might pull out a suit jacket. I might pull out a coat for it, just for that. Matt Stewart writes, excited for the Witcher series? Oh, absolutely. We've been talking about Witcher series a lot on this show. Henry Cavill, I love this dude. I thought that I wasn't thrilled with the first teaser they put out, but the second trailer, much better, and it's got my engine revving for the show. I'm very excited for it. James LH writes, finally we'll be able to join the Doom Patrol conversation soon. It's being released in the UK in January. Have to join Stars Play at $4.99 a month. Listen, it is one of my favorite shows out there. Doom Patrol, and it was surprising because I watched Titans first, and I'm not a fan of Titans. I watched the whole first season, did not like it. I don't think it was a steaming pile of garbage, but I didn't like it. And so I wasn't going to watch Doom Patrol, but so many of you guys said, yeah, John, you got to watch Doom Patrol. And I did, and I love it. Absolutely love that show. And I cannot wait for it to come back, my friend. I'm glad you got a way to watch it now, James. All right, J Bird C writes, John Campea is the best movie pundit out there. I have spoken. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Congrats on the soon-to-be 200,000 subscribers and the many more to come this way. Yeah, so we are now over 199,000 subscribers. So sometime in the next couple of days, we will cross 200,000 subscribers, which is nutty and crazy. And listen, that sounds like a big number. Compared to a lot of YouTube channels, I mean, it's tiny. Tiny. There are many infinity and beyond channels that have more subscribers than me. It's not about that. But hey, listen, it's like mowing the lawn. We hit 2,000 subscribers. I'm just going to feel pretty good about that. More significantly than that is in the next month or two. Let me see if I can actually bring up the actual numbers here. Sometime in the next month or so, we will cross a more significant milestone. Let me just see where we're at right now. Lifetime. Where is it? There we are. Right now, we are closing in on 97 million views. So, theoretically, before the end of December, the John Campea YouTube channel and we're going to cross 100 million views on the John Campea YouTube channel, which means we're going to hit 100 million views faster than I hit 100 million views running the AMC YouTube division, which is really kind of cool. And I am planning to have a 100 million view, 200,000 subscriber party probably in January. Now that means the 100,000 view mark or 100 million view mark will already be in the rear view mirror. And it means that the 200,000 subscriber mark will already be in the rear view mirror. But I am going to book a place probably in Burbank, California, just an informal kind of get together for people who want to buy tickets and come down and be a part of a 100 million view and 200,000 subscriber party. So we are going to do that in Burbank, maybe not right in Burbank, probably right in Burbank, but maybe in Hollywood or somewhere right around here. And I will, guys, let you know when that's going to happen. But it'll be in the first part of January, most likely. And after I get back from my Christmas vacation from Canada and everything. And then we will go from there. But yeah, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of crazy. The amount of people who told me we would never get here, or the amount of people that told me that I wouldn't even still be here. And yet here we are. So thank you for that, Jay I appreciate that. All right, JB Bonifacio writes, Cybertruck will appear in Cyberpunk 2077. Wow, I'm not quite sure what that means, JB. I'll be honest. I know what Cyberpunk is, but I'm not quite sure what that means. Satanic Lives Matter writes, when will we get more content on Disney Plus? Well, they're adding more content all the time. But, oh my God, what are we complaining about? You know how much content they launched with? You haven't watched 2% of what's on Disney Plus yet, but it's coming. James LH also writes, and this is the final question of the day, guys, and then we're going to wrap things up here. James LH writes, John, what type of lighthearted banter do you have fun? Let me try again. John, what type of lighthearted banter do you have fun? An opposite opinion with friends over a film or sports when your team beats one of the others? It's not about what the topic is. It's about who are you having the banter with. That's the key. Because if it's with the right person, you can be bantering about anything. You know, you can be talking about the cars that you've driven, the girls you have dated, the movies you have seen, the television shows you've seen, the gaming computer you've put together, the education that you've had. I mean, it doesn't matter which schools you went to. You can if you're bantering with the right person, it can all be great and fun. So it's really more what I find, James, is more about the person you're bantering with than it is about the topics that you're bantering about. So that's just for me. All right, guys. That'll do it for today's installment of Open Mic. Thank you guys so much for being here and being a part of it. I love doing this stuff on the weekends, and I hope, guys, first of all, thank you for making this show part of your weekend, because, you know, if you're choosing to relax and hang out with your fellow film fans, that's awesome. Thank you so much for that. Special thank you to all you guys who sent in those super chats, not just because you gave us great fun things to talk about, but also because you supported this channel while you were doing it, and all of us here, thank you so much. You're the reason that we're here. Don't forget, guys, a little bit later today, I have a companion video coming. I might not be able to edit it and publish it until tomorrow, but I've got a big companion video coming. We're kind of backlogged, like with all the screenings I've been having, and God, with Weekly Hero and with Dark Side, Light Side, I've been having a very hard time keeping on top of the companion videos, and that's my bad. But I am going to do one big companion video to catch up on a lot of the stuff that we're behind on, so watch for that this weekend as well. And then, of course, the John Campea Show. We'll be back again here on Monday. Me and Robert Meyer Burnett will be in here, of course. And I'm going to try, no promises because it's a busy weekend, but I'm going to try this weekend, if I can. Let me see if I can bring in this graphic here. I'm going to try this weekend, if I can, to do a play-in chat of me playing, using this damn effing PlayStation remote, of me playing Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. I'm going to see if I can squeeze in doing a play-in chat. I don't know if I have time, but I'm definitely going to try, at least try to do that. So we'll see if it actually happens. Anyway, guys, that will do it for me. Thank you so much for being here and being a part of the show. My name is John Campea, and until next time, bye-bye.